Welcome to the Aegance Offscript Podcast, where we talk to industry leaders who share their stories, insights, and lessons, unfiltered and unscripted. I'm your host, Lawrence, and I'm excited to welcome Peter Kohlöffel to the podcast today. Peter is the Director of TechWise Solutions. Now, TechWise Solutions is an African-based, channel-centric distributor of data loss prevention and cybersecurity solutions with reseller partners across the continent. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Appreciate the time and being here with you.
Yeah, excellent. So, Peter, before we dive in, I'd love to hand the mic over to you. So for our listeners who may not know TechWise yet, how do you describe what it is that you do and what makes your approach to cybersecurity and digital solutions stand out in the market?
Well, you did a great intro for us, so thank you very much. But just to add on to that, is that TechWise solution, yes, is a distributor. We're slightly different to the normal distributors that are out there in that we don't do any hardware. We only do software, and as you said, cybersecurity products and digital solutions in terms of safety and safeguarding our cybersecurity space. We work currently, majority of the work that we do is in South Africa, and we also have branched out into plus minus 17 to 18 countries in Africa as well. Where we've got a wealth of experience with certain of our vendors that we've worked with, well, since I've been on board for the last 4 years. The business itself has been going since about 2018, since inception. And as I say, I've been lucky enough to be on board for the last 4 years. And in those 4 years, I would say that myself and the team that we've put together, which, believe it or not, most of us are actually not from the cybersecurity space. We're from logistics, pharmaceuticals, travel, retail, wholesale industry, as well as cybersecurity, of course. We've managed to grow the business significantly year on year, with the help, of course, of our vendors and partners that we deal with. We deal very closely with the likes of Acronis, and both the business side of it as well as the consumer side, and Bitdefender. Also the business side as well as the consumer side. And then we have other brands that we work with in terms of Securian, Trustwave, Senmark, and a brand new brand we've just brought on board in terms of DigiGuard. So yes, we've certainly been a lot more focused on fewer vendors. So again, we're quite different in that we don't have an array of vendors like the other distributors. And we've done this very specifically because, one, not coming from the industry, it was more about what we didn't know and what I didn't know as the leader of the business and what we could implement better from past practice and past understandings of businesses, as well as the fact that we really believed that we'd got right. There were still opportunities for organic growth. And even in our business today, you see that there's quite a lot of organic growth with our current reseller base that we have. Which is approximately 500 plus. And then we've also managed to branch into other countries as well. So lucky enough to be looking at Australia and Indonesia, as well as Taiwan, Germany, and the UK.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for that snapshot. So I suppose first question is there one challenge that you see clients bringing up again and again that TechWise is uniquely positioned to solve?
There's a couple. I would think probably the biggest one is, how do we hang on to our customers? How do we firstly get into our customers? We don't deal directly with the end user. We have a reseller base, so we're a very channel centric, as you mentioned earlier, distributor, and we follow the rules. We don't mess around with those rules because it works for us and it works in our business very, very well. And our reseller base is excellent in the main. So when we do see opportunities, it's mostly with our reseller base not being able to actually get that end user on board. And that is through, to be very honest with you, a lack of training, a lack of knowledge. It's a complicated world out there, man. The cybersecurity space is, in my opinion, and I've worked in FMCG before, which is a very fast moving, literal consumer space. This is the fastest moving industry I've ever been in my life. Things change literally in a couple of weeks. And again, therein you have to make sure that the solutions that you put forward and in front of your end user by the reseller, as well as with ourselves and the vendors, actually look ahead as opposed to looking just to solve the problem now. And I do find that that's what a lot of resellers and MSPs struggle with. And we tend to be more of a training and a learnership partner, education partner, than we are a sales partner or even a cybersecurity expert. Is we're really in the trenches with them, and together with the end user, uncovering what is it that you actually want to get out of this conversation. Where is it that you actually are going? How big is your organization going to be in 6 to 12 to 18 months? So that we can make sure whatever solution, custom-made solution that is created actually looks ahead as opposed to just looks in the here and now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose adding that sort of strategic outlook to your services entrenches you far more closely with your customer base. In terms of as the director at TechWise Solutions, how would you personally define your vision for the company?
My vision for the company hasn't actually really wavered since I started. And I started as a consultant initially and then moved into a more permanent role here. But my vision for the company was just to understand, like, where do we want to, what is it that we actually want to achieve? Not even where do we want to get to? Because even now, I think the where do we want to get to is a really an open-ended question. Because we've been blessed to grow almost double in growth year on year, every year. So for us, it was more about what do we have and do we have great people? We've got great people. Our business is built on our people. We're blessed with amazing people that are well versed in what they sell, that are well versed in customer service. I would say that our customer service probably edges out most of our competitors out there. And I know I have a lot of my friends that are in our competitors actually pointing fingers at me right now and laughing, but we all pride ourselves, I think, in this industry of trying to always outdo each other in terms of level of service. So that's something to be very proud of, very proud of my team. The other thing I would say from my vision's perspective is just to keep it simple. You know, you can overcomplicate your life so much by having so much to choose from. And this is not a retail environment. This is a solutions environment. And you have to be very clear on who you partner with. So from our side, who we partner with in terms of vendors, that they are really partners. And they're not just in it for or what can PK and the team from TechWise actually, do for me in terms of numbers. But they genuinely are there for the long haul, through the good and the bad times, because not everything's rosy out there. And it's a tough market. So that is incredibly important, that you partner with the right vendors. And then also that the resellers that come on board and work with you share in they don't have to share in my vision or share in the TechWise vision, but they have to share in a growth vision. We're not here to play tiddlywinks all day. We're here to grow, and we're here to be more successful than what we were yesterday. So for me, I'm a highly driven individual. And I believe the people around me are the right people. And I only go into battle with people that I can work with and are culturally embedded in our business. Skills and all that kind of stuff we can teach you. We can teach you how to answer an email. We can teach you all those skills. But from a cultural perspective, if you buy into this fast-moving pace, it's incredibly dynamic environment that you're talking to people across the world, literally. And you're engaging with vendors that have got all this global knowledge that you can either take on board and disregard it, or you can take it on board and make yourself a better person to sell better for tomorrow, as an example. So the vision is clear. It's keep it simple, keep it fewer options, fewer better options, and support those that support you. Work very closely with the resellers. Educate, and they grow in turn with you. And that's been really part of our success. And I have to say, we have got phenomenal resellers that work with us and are genuinely, you can literally say, part of our family. Our vendors are part of our family, and our resellers, a lot of them have become part of this TechWise family.
And if you had to distill that vision down into one guiding principle, what would you say the North Star is that you want your team and your partners to be following?
Sell more. That would be my immediate thing, and all my staff would expect me to say that. But no, I think it's that if you have a vested interest in what is ahead of you and what is in front of you, you will always naturally get the best out of it. You'll get the best out of your people if you're in the trenches with them, but you can also lift yourself up above them and say, well, but what's best for them? What's best for us as a business going forward? And I think a lot of us, including myself, I've been caught in it a lot this year, is that we tend to get so busy being busy that we don't stop enough and go, hold on, why has that happened this month? Where are we and how did we grow? We grew, which is amazing, but why did we grow? And with whom did we grow and how did we grow? So you can take those learnings and then put it into next month's growth strategy and put it into the following month's strategy. Everybody in the industry does a budget. We all do budgets and we all, high five each other at the beginning of the year and go, hey, off we go. But the reality of a budget is actually it's a guide. And things happen during the course of a month and a year that will amend that and will change that significantly. And all of a sudden you'll have a fantastic month, but you've got to understand why. And if you can take that in a reseller business and you can take that in a distributor and you can emulate that into month number 2 and 3 and 4 and learn from all of that, you can become incredibly successful. I would say that that's probably what it is. And that leads to increase in sales and better customer service and better automation and use of tools that one has, under your fingertips that you don't use because you're sitting in the trench looking upwards as opposed to sitting just above and looking downwards and saying, that's working, that's not working so well. How do we fix the not working stuff?
I feel like in business, we're just constantly chasing targets, and to actually pause and reflect on the previous month or the previous quarter's achievements and understanding what worked well, but conversely, what didn't work well, so that you can then, institute the required changes to try and avoid some of those issues is some very smart advice. What would you say, PK, is one strategic change or innovation that you've led recently or in the past that you feel has made a real difference at TechWise?
We've been slow to adopt automation. And in the last, we've been busy with this project now for over 6 months, is we've been really very vigilant in terms of automating our business. And when I say automation, I don't mean a CRM. A CRM is a given tool that you need to use on a day-to-day basis. But it's actually making sure that you have full integration into your vendor and out of your vendor into your business, so that you are checking and double checking everything, because we have a lot of customers, and they have a lot of customers. And when you're dealing with multiple vendors with consoles, and this one has this platform and that one has that platform, a lot can go wrong very quickly. And so one has to manage that really, if you can integrate into it in a way that there's always a divide between the information that is accessible and should be accessible and that isn't, which in this day and age is a given, due to the factors that obviously govern the sensitivity of data. Then I believe that you can get a lot out of it. And as I say, I personally have been heading up the project for the last 6 months or so, and what we've uncovered, some of it really bad and some of it really good. And the information set that one has from automating your business can sink you in a week, because you can become entrenched with all of this amazing information. Wow. PK, we can see how many SKUs, who sold what, when, how do we grow Bitdefender? What do we do with the Cronus? All that kind of thing. And then you're in trouble, because you've got to stop and you've got to say, hold on, where are our key performance issues? Or where are we performing really, really well? Get a report on that. Get a report on where we're not performing, and then marry the two up and say, right, we're focusing on those 5 things that are not working, because we can clearly see now that reseller A, B, C, and D are not performing. Why are they not performing? And how do we fix that? And work collectively together internally. And if you need to, bring in your vendor, because your vendor's a partner. You should have enough trust within them to have them with you in these consultations and conference calls and solve the issues. Therein lies the organic growth opportunities that I'm talking about on a constant basis. And I can tell you that TechWise will grow again exponentially in 2026. If we just apply those basics to the amount of information that is out there, it's staggering, but it's overwhelming. And when you take all that information and you disseminate it down to your staff, if you as a director of a business are overwhelmed, can you only imagine what they feel like? And a lot of businesses do it where they have like got all these reports. I pull this report, do this, do this, do this, and you need to pull this all yourself or whatever. You're kidding yourself if you think your staff are doing that. They're not doing it. And they shouldn't be doing that. They should be in front of your customers growing your business. But they should be doing it with the help of a couple of tools that you've got the information through automation that can give them clear direction on what do they want to talk to the customer about today. 3 things or 5 things maximum. But this is what I want to get out of my conversation today. So yeah, the automation project has been, in my mind, fantastic. And then also understanding the degree of automation. I've got some of my colleagues and some of the other distributors that have done a phenomenal job in terms of automation. And I've learned from them. And you have enough respect for one another when you sit together at conferences or summits or whatever it is to talk to each other and say, man, why are you doing it like that? Rather do it like this, or did you know that? And then you share best practice amongst yourselves. Are you competing? Absolutely. Are we brutal towards one another? Sure we are, but we're fair. And we're also all, I believe we all have a shared vision with our vendors to grow the industry, as opposed to nitpicking and being, having zero scruples, and not working as a cohesive force. So long story short, if you haven't automated and you haven't looked at it, look at it. AI is something else. Automation is it's a necessity for a business in many shapes and forms, but it's a necessity these days.
It sounds like from that automation project that you are learning quite a lot, probably quite surprised with what you're learning along the way. Are the outcomes aligning with what you expected?
If my board was asking me that question, then I'd say absolutely, 100%. But then I'd be lying. So no, some of it isn't. And again, that's where the scary part comes in, is that once you integrate fully in a vendor, you see things that shouldn't have happened, and things that have happened, and things that are detrimental to the business. But you can fix them because you've got the ability to fix them now that you know that they're there. Okay, and then you can work off those learnings and you can take it to the next level. One of the things that we have definitely discovered, which I thought that we were really, really good at, was selling an array of products, which when you talk holistically about a brand and you see the growth that you have within a brand, you think, wow, you're doing such a great job. But when you actually delve into the detail of it, you see how many missed opportunities you have. And missed opportunities to grow, and not to oversell, but to genuinely help with the solution, the cyber solution, that is encompassing that end user, through your reseller. So that, I must say, has been, I was quite surprised. But it's been good, and it's been really good. Again, it's about the adoption of the information and what do you do with it. You can either have a team that is a yes sir, yes sir, yes sir team. I certainly don't have that. They challenge me as much as I challenge them, as they should. But they will use what they believe will work for them. But you've got to put it in a palatable size and a palatable manner so that they can use it properly. So yeah, it's been as I say, it's been an excellent learning curve.
In terms of that automation process, that's obviously linking you to your external partners and your resellers. If we turn internally and look at the way that sort of your team and TechWise operates, are there any systems or internal processes that you've implemented that have really made a difference and streamlined the way that the team operates?
Well, I made mention to, a CRM being, a given that you need to have a CRM as a disty, and most of my colleagues do all have them. We actually custom made our CRM through one of our other businesses that we work very closely with. And that I find was quite a nice differentiator because CRMs are incredible, don't get me wrong, but they can be very cumbersome. And when I say cumbersome, because you've got access to all of this information that you need to input, a lot of the time, some people go wrong and some companies go wrong by wanting to input all the information. Like at some stage somewhere, most important thing is what you derive from the information, not necessarily the information itself. So the amount of time that you spend there you need to spend in the right places. So rather spend the time automating with your CRM, which is what we've done, and keeping key components, key documents, everything that the actual team needs on a day-to-day basis. It's there at their fingertips, of course. That's hugely valuable from a CRM. And it's usually very valuable from our CRM because it's custom made. So we've kind of encompassed all the things like what do we get on a day-to-day basis? What are the resellers asking for? Do we have easy access? And it sounds so silly to a BEE certificate, but it's a real thing. And when you're busy being busy, these things, if they're not at your fingertips, are an issue. So we've used that very, very well. And again, I think it's also about adoption. I think it's about the team. If they understand it and it's simple enough for the average person to understand and work with, and it's not cumbersome, then you get the maximum benefit out of it. We're still growing in terms of our CRM. We're still growing in terms of our internal tools. But it's working and it's working well. And the knowledge that the staff have when you say to them, what's happening in your day? How's your customer base looking? It's factual now. It's not, oh, they're looking great and I'm seeing Bob on Wednesday and I'm hoping I'm going to make the month. It's tell me how you're going to make the month, with whom, why, and what do you need from me? How can I help you? Okay, and they're getting that all information from the CRM and from the other reports that we are now using quite vigilantly.
And in terms of the previous CRM, what wasn't working there that made you realize this change was needed? I mean, my experience with CRMs is that there's a lot of data, but there's also a lot of noise. And to try and collate all of that data into the right type of view for management to get a sense of how's the sales team performing this week, this month, this quarter, what are we tracking towards? Was that the sort of the aha moment, or was there something else that you saw a gap or a potential to create your own CRM?
There are huge, amazing CRMs out there. But I think and there was a lot of noise when we implemented a CRM because it had never been done before in TechWise. And so there was all this, this extra admin and all this extra work and I can't get to my customers and all this other nonsense and blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff that you get when you're working in a team. And when you eventually cut through all of that, the CRM actually didn't fit us at all. And it wasn't working for us. And we needed to actually take it and go, okay, well, that doesn't actually work for us. And then the other thing within the CRM, which a lot of people probably don't do enough of, is that in the cybersecurity space, we should be the best at protecting data and making sure that the right people have the right views and can't get to certain data and can get to certain data. And I'm not talking about financial data at all. It doesn't sit anywhere near our CRM. It's totally separate. But we didn't do that even ourselves. So the administration rights and the viewing rights were all wrong. So when everyone can view everything, one is totally overwhelming. And two, you allow leaks with your data, which happened to us, unfortunately, because you're dealing with people and people are people. It is what it is. So you've got to make sure that these things are. And when we worked very closely with our team in terms of what should the CRM be going forward, there weren't too many tweaks and changes, but we made it less noise and cumbersomeness, not even a word, I'm sure, but more kind of just do this, and do that. That's the information that we need because that's the information that you're going to get from this. That's it. And then keep it updated. For the love of goodness, when somebody moves from the company, just update Billy Bob's name to James. It's not that difficult. And that therein lies the real value. Because I can promise you, I've worked on CRMs in my life that are massive and are, I mean, everybody speaks about how much data they have and how incredible their CRM is and whatever. And you take it, you download it into the Excel, you put a couple of filters on, and it's rubbish. There's 50 PKs in there, all at different addresses, all with different email addresses, and there's nobody out there that can say that they've ever worked on a perfect database. It doesn't exist.
No, absolutely. Certainly in my experience, I've always driven across the sales teams that I've managed that our CRM is our source of truth. And it needs to be a place that anyone at any point in time can come to and get a clear view on the status of the sales conversation, for example, when there's a renewal that's approaching and who the key players are within the client base. So keeping it updated is often the biggest challenge across the team, and I'm sure you've got experience with that.
Just a bit. Just a bit. But if you don't make it into work and you make it into just a daily routine, guys, it's expected of you. And it's what you would want if someone was phoning you from any telecoms company and they greet you and they say they get my surname wrong or they get my name wrong. That's the basics, and that comes from poor data management. So we always try and use that as an example. And in the main, honestly, it's certainly got a lot better, but even ours isn't 100% perfect. No one's is.
So PK, I've spent some time in the cybersecurity landscape. I understand that it's a very competitive landscape. How is TechWise and how are your sales team going about acquiring new clients for you? What's the go-to market approach? I don't want you to share your trade secrets, but what is the sort of standard formula that you like to use?
I think we do a lot of it through relationships, through word of mouth. We also have one or two of our vendors that give us really, really good leads, qualified, proper leads, not leads, real leads. That 95% of the time with this particular vendor, we close that lead always with the right reseller, of course, and with the right process that we have embedded in ourselves over the last, I would say probably 2 to 3 years, definitely. We've got far better at that. But there's no magic potion for growing a business. I mean, I really believe, and as a culture, we believe in relationships. And we believe in being able to have seriously hard conversations if we have to. Like, listen, your account's overdue. Like, you need to pay it because we're not your bank. And also, the solution doesn't work. I'm sorry to say, but actually it's not the right solution for you. And it might be one of the vendors we currently sell, but then we have to sell something else that really does work. But be totally transparent and open and honest about that. To the great conversations, going, having a game of golf, having a beer together, talking nonsense, getting to know families, making your resellers your friends. There's nothing that substitutes the human touch. And since COVID, it's become more and more become more and more part of business and business growth. And it's the truth. People do buy from people, whether you like it or whether you don't. And if you're slightly likable, okay, which I think on a really, really good day, and I must have a really good day, I'm slightly likable, then you're blessed, and I see it in the team and I see it in our culture that we have in TechWise, is that everybody gets on with it, man. You have hard days, rough days, but you find the good in something, and then you get a little order for like 2 consumer licenses. Man, you're over the moon because something positive has happened, or a reseller that you've been working on for 6 months has finally phoned you back and said, hey, man, let's have a chat about this product because I think it's really cool. So there's no magic potion. It's flipping hard work, and it's being consistent. Don't give up. If you give up, you will never succeed in life because it's hard out there. And I mean, we are blessed to travel around the world, and we get there from South Africa at these summits and conferences globally, and they're like, whoa, you traveled from South Africa? I can't believe you're here. How many days did it take you? 2 days or whatever. They're not ignorant, but they just don't, it's not in their realm of understanding. So they don't know, right? But we definitely have more challenges than most countries. And yet every day, we get up every day, we deal with Johannesburg's issues, we deal with, Durban's issues, and Cape Town has its issues too. We deal with all those things, and then we still, go forward. But the key undermining factor, in my opinion, and in TechWise that we pride ourselves in, is relationships, growing our relationships, because organic growth comes from that, comes from those conversations and spending time with your partners. Never discount the fact that the time that you spent with your partner, as stupid as you think it is, and as, oh, that was a waste of time, and I've seen them 3 times in the last month and nothing's come from it. When you look at that report at the end of the month, and you realize they might not have been talking to you about everything that's going on in their business, but the business is growing with you. It's just how it is. This world that we live in works so quickly that if you're not present and you're not in a place where you could potentially grow with someone, you'll never grow. So that really is, I believe that's the philosophy.
I think that philosophy holds a lot of weight in terms of relationship growth and management and fostering that connection. I suppose my follow-up question is, the opportunity to foster a relationship is only possible if doors are open. Would you say that you've noticed a particular channel or approach that's consistently delivering open doors to you?
No, I wouldn't say there's any one channel, but I would say that those that are looking to diversify and diversify their revenue streams and to think about their business slightly differently, they certainly have more opportunities than most. So to give you a good example is we have a marketing business as well, that's totally separate to TechWise. And the reason why it exists is because when I came on board with TechWise, we had no marketing. We had no social media. We had no footprint. We had no understanding. We had no real website or anything like that. It was outdated. And no one in this industry, besides the bigger vendors, actually can see the value in having an up-to-date website that actually speaks for you while you're asleep, or having an e-commerce platform that's linked directly to your brand, be it TechWise or be it whoever it may be, whatever reseller it is, and that sells for you when you sleep. There's quite a weird, and I'm not being disrespectful to the industry, it's a fact, is that there's a very weird understanding of like marketing isn't really important. It's like just rather do what you do, get in the face, exactly what I've been talking about earlier, get in the face of people and get the sales done, and there's no time, nothing hectic. But the importance of marketing is very clear when your competitor, who's a reseller, the same as you, who's working with the same customers that you are, is doing it. And they posting as an example that they've had an event with TechWise or had an event with the Cronus or Bitdefender or wherever it may be. And it's been a huge success and there was a bit of fun and they had it was part of education and they got certifications. All of a sudden you left wanting. And the fact that no one can go on, if you think that a customer like an APSA, as an example, or even like a smaller retail store or wherever, when they see your name, if you think that they don't go online and have a look at your website, think again, because they do. And specifically overseas, before they even know who you are, they've looked at your LinkedIn profile. They've looked at your business LinkedIn profile. They've looked at your website. And they want to know, what are you all about? Like, do I even want to have a conversation with this person? Are they worth their weight in their words? Or are they just talking nonsense? They're pretending to be something that they're not. So through our marketing business, we've actually had an amazing amount of success with working together with our resellers that saw the value, because whatever we did for TechWise, we would do for them. And it's worked incredibly well. And not only in South Africa, but we're working collectively with companies in Indonesia, in Australia, as well as Taiwan, as well as the UK. And the value that is, it's helping everyone understand better what the offering is that you as the reseller give to the end user. It's also helping you sell when you're asleep at night. As I said, through e-commerce platforms, through shopping carts, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the differentiators that we found has kind of been like a weird hook that's actually worked really well. And then again, the marketing business is totally aligned with our vendors. So it's hard. It's very hard for a small business to speak to a bigger brand and go, oh, I can only do that in PDF or whatever. They're like, what is that? I'm like, I don't know what that is. But when you have a business that's already done it, it's already got it, already sorted, already good to go, already good to play, all of a sudden it makes it so much easier for you as a smaller reseller where your core business is not marketing. Your core business is not putting all this stuff together. Your core business is selling. But this business comes with a calendar, comes with a plan, assists you with wording, works on your social media. I mean, this marketing, but they tell me what to do. Lawrence, I literally get messages saying, PK, please don't forget to do this. Please don't forget to do this. And that's because I don't have the time. It's not my core business. I'd far rather be with a reseller or be with a vendor thinking about how we're going to be doing things differently going forward, or how we're going to get growth for the next 3 to 6 months, as opposed to, doing the marketing stuff, which I love, but I'd rather have someone prompt me. So that's, as I said, that's worked really, really well for us.
Yeah, I'd imagine bolting on those marketing services makes for quite a compelling package for your customers. What would you say, PK, is one thing inside TechWise at the moment that's going really well? And conversely, what's the one thing that's driving you a little bit crazy or maybe causing some frustrations for you?
I'll start with the with the negative one first. Um, Billing, driving me nuts. Okay. And it's driven me nuts for many, many months. And again, enter left the automation structure and program that we've created. And through that, we've just had the very first month that I can tell you on the 1st September where it's been, I'm not going to say seamless, but I'm going to say almost seamless. Okay. And it's not just through automation, but it's through individuals knowing exactly what they should do when and just implementing, as opposed to thinking too much outside the box. We love to think outside the box. I love that. I love that entrepreneurial spirit. But sometimes in a role, you just need to follow the rules and just do as what is needed and not think outside the box. And then you'll be more successful. So that, I would say, hands down, most frustrating thing. But we're seeing the light. So there's good news there. The thing that I think that has been the most successful, what I'm really probably the most proud of in TechWise is the growth. Because we've had new people come on board. We've had to, new people don't add any value. You can say what you like, but you as a new person coming on board, you don't add any value to the business until you understand the business. And that takes time. And our new people that have come on board have been phenomenal. And they have embraced the culture, and before they even came to us, they were already looking at what do our vendors do? What does TechWise do? How do we do things? Not knowing what they're coming into. And I'm sure a lot of them have probably resigned 20 times in their drafts folder, but then we have a cool event and then they're back. But honestly, it's just them embracing the constant nature of change in our environment, and then growing, constantly looking for areas of growth, and listening. Listening is a skill that none of us use to our fullest capacity. But if you sit in a meeting and you're quiet and you just listen to what that customer, what the reseller is saying, what their real issues are, and you know that you can solve them before you speak, rather have that plan on how you can solve them, and then you're amazing. And that's why we're growing. So we're growing because most of the time we're listening, we're demoing, we're showing, we're teaching, and we're working together in collaboration with our reseller base and our vendors that work with us.
Yeah, I think you raised such a valuable point there in terms of listening. I mean, in my experience, I've been a part of a number of sales teams in the past. I've managed some sales teams, and often what I find is the teams can be so focused on selling, that they often miss the opportunity to listen to what the real concerns are and trying to fit, a solution around the concerns rather than just sort of throwing solutions at the customer. Oftentimes that turns the customer away and the opportunity is lost. If we look ahead for TechWise, what's next for you in the next 6 to 12 months? Is there a particular project, maybe a partnership, or a market that you're most excited about?
A couple of things. I'm very excited about consumer and our consumer projects that we've kicked off going forward. I think we've been dabbling in consumer for a long time, and a lot of our resellers buy their consumer through us. And I'll tell you that I mean we've had more success in the last 3 months. We had a record-breaking month in the month of August, and it's purely through focus, working with the right partners, and understanding our vendors' expectations and aligning them with our own expectations together collectively. It's seriously exciting for me, and it's so lovely to see something. It's a blessing when you see like people always talk about the stars align, but you can physically feel when something's just working better. And it may not be perfect, it's certainly not perfect yet, and it'll never be perfect. But it is, man, when you're looking at a graph and you just see sales do this, it's for me, it's like, that's where I want to be. The other thing I'm very excited about is our global growth. I am super excited with what we're doing across the globe. Never thought that we'd ever be anywhere near Australia, and we're working together with the right partners there. Taiwan came up as it's a relationship thing, actually. And again, you never know what you know. And through Taiwan came Germany. So we have got the most amazing opportunity to grow globally, and we are. And our vendors are working with us to be able to open up those markets for us. If that makes sense. We all have contracts in place, so we know we can only go to certain countries. But the fact of the matter is there's certain contracts that are a little bit more open-ended and allows you to think and to work your entrepreneurial spirit in different countries. And then lastly, I want to say is the people. We've got a new person coming on board in November. And for us, it's always like I've also been blessed enough to manage incredibly high-performing sales teams. And then, everyone's like, oh, what did you do, PK? And what did you do? Well, I didn't do anything different. I do what PK does. That's me. I've always been like this. Nothing's really changed. I've learned. I'm a lot grayer, and I have a bit of a beer book. But besides that, okay, I'm geared for growth, and I'm geared for listening and for learning from those around me. And it's such a blessing to be able to see a team get into that cohesive mode and just grow. And when they're doing it without you, and not that I have to handhold, but your experience is valuable, and what you've learned, and how you're not perfect in the industry, but you have a quicker way of doing things because, man, I've done it with teams of 900 people. I've done it with teams of 20 people. So you kind of learn from that, and you draw on that experience to be able to give your staff, your team, a better understanding of maybe where they're falling a little bit short and where they could do things better. And then you learn from them too. But what I'm seeing in our people going forward, they've always been the most important part of our growth and our success as a business, is 2026, I think is going to be an incredible year for us. Because 2025 is going to be an incredible year for us. So we're going to build on that.
Amazing. It sounds like you're on the right trajectory. If PK, if money and resources weren't an issue for you, what's the dream initiative that you'd launch tomorrow?
First thing I would do is I really believe in incentivizing staff. I really do believe. I've been incentivized when I was in pharmaceuticals and when I was in DHL, and the most amazing incentives that I was even a part of, as well as my teams. I would launch an incentive campaign that would be next level. Okay. We already have a commission structure that's very different to any of the other distributors out there. But I would launch an incentive scheme that, man, everybody would be blown away with. That's the first thing. Because a lot of the times you don't know that there's maybe a lot of your staff that haven't ever got onto a plane or haven't ever traveled overseas. And how amazing would that be that you can say that your business, or because of what you've done, has enlightened them, and people grow when they travel, as we all know. That would be the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do would be definitely to invest more in an infrastructure that supports global growth. We all think that our businesses are geared for growth and geared for this and geared for that and geared for whatever. But it's only when you dip your toe into another market that you realize that you're not geared for that, or that you're geared for it, but 50% of the way, and that you really need to invest more in country, in an individual or individuals to be able to get the regional or local knowledge to really be able to facilitate your growth and your success as a business. I think I would I'd pretty much do those two things. I wouldn't buy Aston Martins as company cars for everyone, even though I know I'd get a lot of requests for that. It's a great idea, but it's probably not the most responsible thing to do.
Yeah, probably not the most responsible thing. I mean, those are two very noteworthy initiatives, and hopefully you get the chance to do that. I think, yeah, PK, this has been a really insightful conversation. For those listeners who want to connect or learn more about TechWise Solutions, where's the best place to find you?
We're on LinkedIn, and we're very active on LinkedIn. We have a website as well, from a TechWise perspective. And then we're always available, all of our details and stuff always available on the website. And then I'll leave the details with you as well, and we can air that to all viewers that are watching this straight afterwards.
Yeah, happy to do that. And if you had to leave our listeners with one short piece of advice on protecting and growing their business in today's digital world, what would that be?
Don't think that you have all your bases covered. Everyone has got glitches, and they are exposed. And constantly look at your networks, constantly look at your infrastructure, and the teams that work with you in your teams as an organization and as a business work for you. So sometimes they tend to be tainted by their job description. Sometimes it's really good to have an external party just have a quick look at your infrastructure and have a really neutral look at what it is, how it is that you protect it endpoint wise in the business environment, and then externally at homes, Wi-Fi networks, mesh networks, whatever it may be, wherever people work from. We really are having those conversations a lot with our resellers and obviously together with them, with the end users. Don't think that you're 100% protected, because you never are, and things change so quickly that you really need to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, PK, thank you once again for your time. It's been a really cool conversation, and wish you all the best with TechWise and the rest of 2025, and hopefully 2026. You guys just continue to grow and expand and shoot the lights out.
Yes, thank you, and thank you again for having me on the show.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.